Good morning. A beautiful, blessed Monday to everybody. Reverend Charles Hall with you, and there's my main man, Ed. Jeff, Ed off the couch, Harrison, is stepping in this morning. We'll get to the info on that in just a moment. Good morning, everybody. Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert and our friends all over the world. We're so grateful to be with you this morning and, excuse me, share the next hour together and do what we do, live our lives, talk about some inspiring things and just see where the hour goes. Jeff is there someplace in the middle of where is it, the Sierra Nevadas or someplace like that. It's beautiful. Where are you?
I'm just here, man. Wherever I need to be. I pulled my minivan off the side of the road, and here we are.
You just pull the screen down and boom. That's what we've got to do. So Jeff, Ed off the couch, Harrison, as we know, is our Swing Point Media Productions master. He's stepping in for William today. William had a surprise project pop up, and as we know, excuse me, life happens, so we just have to roll with it. And thank goodness that we've got so many wonderful resources here at our center to bless us. So William had a surprise event come up. We bless him while he's doing that. And so we're going to cycle him through to the end of our getting to know you with our soon-to-be new reverends, our ministerial graduates. So we'll be hearing from him in a few weeks. And today, Jeff has graciously stepped in. I always love our conversations, pal. Whenever this just came up for me half an hour ago. I think for both of us just earlier. So, I just love our conversations. No matter what happens, we can probably just sit down and chat for a few hours. So let's see where this hour goes. How are you, bud?
I'm good. I just feel like at any point we could take a hard right turn and just talk golf. But
we sure can.
As somebody who's been a golf professional for many years, in fact, decades, I realize there is such a not even a closely knitted relationship. It is entwined. You can't even separate the two between life on the golf course and life in the spiritual center and being metaphysical. It's one and the same.
It really is. One of my I'm on Facebook or whatever. It's one of my taglines is golf is life. Because everything, and for folks that don't understand the game of golf, I know this might be trivial to you, but for those that do, or at least have some exposure to it. What do you find on the golf course? You find a great shot every once in a while, where life's going easy. You find yourself in a sand trap where you got to strategize a little bit. You have to work your way around the golf course and think. You have to also be creative and use your intuition and trust. You've got things you can control, which basically is your golf swing, and everything else you can't control. And that's life, right? What you can control this. You can't control the wind. You can't control the speed of the greens. You can't control kind of the stuff that's quote unquote coming at you, but you can control your mind. You can control to the best of your ability, your heart rate, your strategy, how you're going about your day, and what you're bringing to the golf course. So you're right. We can talk about that forever.
Yeah.
But being a golf pro, here's an interesting thing though, like a practitioner or a minister perhaps, or anybody that's committed to the just having a deeper understanding and walk with life, is that you have a unique perspective on the game of golf because of how much you've studied it and the time that you've put in on it. And that's actually the same thing with an individual that's, as I just mentioned, reading the books, reading Ernest Holmes, studying principle. You begin to have a unique perspective on how to apply the knowledge that you have in order to play a better game, live a better life.
Yeah, it is so true, because as you mentioned about the wind and the rain and whatever it may be, it takes me back to that saying we've seen a million times. I can't control the wind, but I can't control my sail. And to me, that's our thought process. And if growing up in West Texas, learning how to play golf, the whole idea was if you can't play in the wind, then you don't play golf because it's always windy there. Yeah. And then realizing once you get out of the wind, the game is I don't mean to say this in a way that it's insulting anybody, but the game is so much easier when you're playing in conditions we often see out here, which is the wind is not blowing. to me, that's that moving over and becoming someone who can manifest their life and not control, but be the director of their thoughts. And no matter what chaos is going on out there, their life is smooth. And we see it all the time on the golf course, Reverend Charles, where, it's a crazy day and the scores are high and somebody stands out and shoots a 64. And you're like, did they play the same golf course I did? What's the deal there? And they're able to, again, adjust their sails, control the wind, not control the wind, but control their sails, which then helps them navigate through the golf course. And I think if we take that on in life, boy, I think we look at it much, much differently.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, we live in two different communities because I get a lot more wind than you do in Palm Desert here, I think, than you do in Lakeitha.
Yeah.
We get wind all the time here, buddy. Is this so? What this corridor coming through what is the pass called with the San Jacintos? The pass where the 10 goes through?
Yeah, San Jacinto.
I guess that's one of the windiest. Now that we're just gonna kind of BS for a little bit here, forgive me. One of the windiest areas in Southern California coming through there, right? Which hence the wind farm and all that. The windmills.
I think it's actually one of the top 5 windiest places on the planet. Actually,
oh, no. Really?
Because of the I think it's called an alluvial fan, where the two mountains come down and create this squeeze, and it squeezes the air. And so what happens, it's like anything else, it's being squeezed into this vortex, if you will. And of course, it's always windy there. And when it is windy, it's extremely windy. So yeah, that's a great place to have fans. And if you like to fly your kite, that's the place to go.
Go fly a kite.
That's it. Hey, I just want to say something real quick. There's some folks that are jumping on and they're kind of bummed out because William's not here. I apologize. I grew some facial hair as quickly as I could. I couldn't get my hair as long as William, but I know he really sends his apology as last minute, and he looks forward to coming back again.
Yeah, it's well, I was gonna say it's something beyond our control, but it's very few things are. It's just life happens. Trust me, folks. William will be here. He really is upset that he can't be here, but it's something that just came up. So understood. And we get to control our attitude in this moment too.
That's it.
And welcome. What life? We just talked about this 2 seconds ago. When life gives you lemons, or make lemonade. Who doesn't like a whole lemon at some point too, though, right? You can do a lot of stuff. Yeah. So I understand that too, and I have compassion for what everybody's saying. I know that when I want something to show up a certain way, I want it to be that way. And if it doesn't, then there's an adjustment period. So I hope, I know that both Jeff and I hear you, and hopefully we can make that adjustment here in just a couple of minutes so that we can be present now. And William will be with us with his hair and everything. And let's go to the wig store next time. We could, or the party store. We'll get you. We can, whoever you're standing in for from now on, we're gonna send you pictures and make sure you look like them.
I like it. Hey, before we get going, I know there was an email that came out this morning. Do you want to take any time and talk about that and let everybody know what's going on there? And so any questions they might have, they can post them in the comments and they can just address those.
Yeah, that's great. So you may have received a letter by now if you're a committed giver at the center. Who's filled out a membership form and is a regular giver, with a letter from Dr. Joe and a statement of your giving so far this year, just as a helpful reminder of what you pledged at the beginning of the year and where you're at, and a letter from Dr. Joe in there saying all the beautiful, exciting things going on, but also with an ask in there, an ask for folks to really step in at big time to play the game as far as financial contributions and participating financially to support the center while Dr. Joe's on sabbatical and while we're still while the building is still closed, while we're still meeting virtually and things like this. So the same letter that went out to the congregants that are registered givers, Dr. Joe recorded that letter via video. He actually kind of pretty much verbatim. He did a really good job with it, actually. So that letter went out virtually via video this morning to our entire email database. And so whether you remember or not, you got the same information from Dr. Joe. He did make a surprise appearance this morning in the sanctuary on sabbatical. He's still, where's Joe? Where's Waldo? We have no idea where in the world he is. We don't want to know. We just want him to be where he's at. But the ghost of Joe, present and future, gave us a message this morning about just the state of our union as a community. And we just want to make sure that you bring your attention to that and welcome yourself into participating with our center as much as possible. It was actually nice to hear from him and see that. And when I got open the email this morning, it was nice to get one of his messages because I know plenty of our congregation, I'm sure, are missing him. And so anyway, that's what showed up this morning, Dan. You want to mention anything about that, Jeff?
Just the fact that as I was editing that video out, I mean, I saw the emotion in Dr. Joe. And I remember being there a couple of weeks ago when we filmed it before he left on his sabbatical, and it was incredibly emotional for him to say. And I'm just kind of getting a little bit some God bumps here now that, when he said it's been 46 years of center and they've never had to lay anybody off. And I mean, that just signifies how this point we're going through in time and history we've never experienced. And right now we are stronger than we've ever been as a community. And as you can testify to, there's never been this much content and exposure from the center to the congregants during this time, because we realize, boy, there are times where, we need to just hear and see somebody else out there besides the news or the weather or a blank wall. And I thought it was really good. And the other thing he mentioned that I think was really good, and I have to give a big tip to the ministerial graduates soon to be that next level, which I'll let you talk about, is the new programs that they put out, like the Power of Eight. That Power of Eight program is absolutely just full up. And that just says, hey, we want to have that connection, but on a smaller level. And Gail with the Power of Eight by I think it's Lynn McTaggart. Yeah, that is amazing. The other one that he mentioned in there is the Social Eight. I think it's supposed to be the Socialites, but Social Eight. And William and Cheryl are steamrolling that, and that's going to be coming out. So that's all available on the website. So there's still some really exciting things going on.
Yeah. You mentioned there's actually not much I can attest to, Jeff. I was here for 2 months before before the building closed down. This is my paradigm. I mean, those 2 months were so special though, in the building and the community. And I remember coming in on Sundays and having a mixture of being terrified and being exhilarated, like, oh my God, I don't know their names. They're going to want me to, and I'm doing my best. But also the exhilaration, the buzz. We can all remember the buzz on Sunday morning, can't we?
Totally.
The folks that show up early to just fellowship and hang out together. And I used to love just kind of walking through the sanctuary, getting to know people, and kind of the ramp up time when the band was jamming for a solid 15 or 20 minutes before the service would start. Our very talented band and the buzz of conversation happening in the sanctuary. Standing at the front door, welcoming people when they come in. This is the vision that I hold in my heart for where we're going. I'm going to say coming back to, because the love is going to be so much thicker and richer. I love the word viscosity. There's going to be a richer viscosity to it. But yeah, and this is my paradigm right now. Our virtual things for our community and what we're doing. And heading into the office and working with Elizabeth and Lily and a few folks that come through from time to time, and social distancing inside the building, doing our work. But it creates I guess I wanted to paint that picture just so we all can have it, because I know we all crave it, and this is what we've got. I don't know, folks, I'm monitoring things. I'm safely planning. It might be January 1 before we get back together. It might be, and that's no commitment. It's no promise. It's no anything. I don't mention it. It said don't take it to the bank, but it could be that. And we're going to keep doing it powerfully, gang. We're going to keep doing this powerfully. And I got to bring Great thanks back to Jeff and all the ways that he's keeping our community together. You know, in many ways, you're a big fat, just a big fat glob of glue, pal. A big fat glue glob bringing us all together. So anyway, yeah.
Well, it's been fun. You know, that's that whole thing where we say, and it really, if you're okay with this, it really dovetails into today's conversation.
Yeah, let's go for it.
That is so powerful about why we're here where we are. And you know, the day that we closed down because of the legal confinements and said, hey, we have to close, is we just asked such great questions. Like, okay, that's the case. Now what do we need to do to not just survive, but thrive?
Yes.
And immediately we went to say, let's leverage something we already know how to do, and that's live stream, and just do it every day and create content. And more than, content feels impersonal. Create contact and create a community, and allow people who, no matter where they are, to tune in. And the cool thing about this whole process, Reverend Charles, is not only have we seen people that I see getting lined up over here and they're commenting, thank you, Don, I appreciate that, that I see people doing that, but it allowed other people to join in that may have never heard of the Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert, or the message and strength and the power of what we talk about, or I should say what you talk about, to be at your fingertips.
There's a whole lot of we going on. I mean, there's absolutely.
So yeah,
it is a we.
Yeah. So you know, today I want to share with you, or not share. I want to trigger your thoughts when we talk about the power of the question. And let me just kind of tee it up again using some of the golf term. Hey,
Jeff, real quick, I'm not seeing anybody's comments. Do you need to push those through in order for me to see that, or do you not want me to see them?
Yeah, you don't want to see these.
Are they? Okay.
No, I'll put that up there. Don just mentioned, is there something I can do with your microphone? Your sound is a little iffy over there. And yes.
My sound?
Yep.
I can get rid of the headphones and see if that works.
Take it off. Let's see what happens. I think that's going to make a difference. Let's hear you.
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yep, that's better. Can you hear me? The sound.
I can't hear you for some reason now, though.
Okay, so if you'll just.
Do I need to go back?
You just need to go down and choose a different speaker in your Zoom choices. You know, down on the bottom right where it says mute or start video, you just need to choose a different sound source. Can you hear me when you put your headphones on? Nope.
Yeah, now I can. Yeah.
Okay. Now
you're great, folks. This is when we'd go to, if we were doing radio, this is what we, is it better?
Much better. Much better. Thank you, Don. I appreciate that.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
You hear me
okay? Great.
Yeah.
All right.
I think what it was doing, it was probably grabbing the sound.
I hear you great. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good. So anyway, so the power of the question, and I'll have to go back to a program I was at. It was a 7-day long program, and I may have mentioned this before, but in this process, there were 70 of us, and it was 7 days, 14, 15-hour days. It was very, very intense. It was about personal growth. And we each had beside us, we had this big whiteboard or piece of white paper that we would write notes down on. And one of the things that we were challenged with is, what is life? And throughout this whole thing, the message that kept streaming to me, it's all in the questions that we ask. And to me, I think it's the seeds we plant are the fruits that we harvest and we have to eat. And so, not that I've been great at this, but I sometimes will have that hard slap of like, geez, well, I am responsible for what I just pulled out of the ground because I planted it. And I have to go back and say, what are my thoughts? What were my questions that planted that seed? And some of the things that I hear, I'll just talk about in a business term, because that's what we do at Swing Point Media. We help businesses. Is they say, you know, what do I do? All my customers are gone. You know, or why has this happened to me? How can I survive? And they ask questions in such a way that
these are the questions. These are the questions that people are asking you.
Yes.
As you're working on the plan or whatever it is. Okay.
Absolutely. So I'll many times reframe that, and I'm going to put this in a golf context. Is like people would ask me when I'm teaching golf, and I know you can relate to this. Is they would ask me, I'd say, well, why do you want to have a lesson today? Well, I want to know why I'm slicing the ball, and I would say, do you really want to know that? Or is there something else? They said, no, I really, and they would fight for that question. No, I really want to know why I'm slicing the ball. I said, well, that's easy. You have a left or right spin on the ball if you're right-handed and it makes the ball curve. I said, is that really what you wanted? Or do you want to know how to hit it straight? And they said, well, of course I want to know how to hit it straight. And I said, well, but you didn't tell, and I'm just joking now, and I say, but you didn't tell the universe that. You didn't tell the teacher that. So how I want to run with it.
But that's not a joke, though. That's legitimate coaching right there. You know, that's what a coach would say. You know, I was talking to Julia about this a few. Why, when a coach shows up in your life, I think about, you know, when I was, can you hear me okay, Jeff? Am I coming through?
Yep.
Okay now? Okay. I like to banter. So when I start to talk over you and there's a little bit of a delay, anyway, I like to get, you know, banter. Anyway, I love it when a coach shows up in my life. Someone that, you know, when you say, you're kidding, I hope we're not kidding, when someone shows up and says, is this really what you want to know? You know, like a good coach gets in your face in a compassionate but a beautiful way, whether it's a life coach, a sports coach, a pickleball coach, a tennis, you know, whatever it might be. They say, this is what you need to be doing. This is the information you really want to have. You know, and sometimes it's gentle, sometimes it's not gentle. But what do we really want ultimately? Results. We want our life to go in a particular direction. We want results. And that's what I, you know, like, and sometimes it means taking the gloves off. Sometimes we need to hear it gently. Sometimes we need to hear it firmly. But at the end of the day, what do we want? We want to hear what's going to, you know, generate, what are the results we're looking for? Awesome partnerships. You know, like Jeff shared an email. Jeff's an early morning emailer, by the way. Okay, Jeff's emails all come between 5 and 5:30 in the morning. All right, that's when they come. Mine generally come if they're going to come late in the afternoon or between 11 and midnight. Okay, that's when my wheels get going. But no, he's asked so these questions that we want. How do you find your soulmate in the midst of the COVID? What were some of the other ones, Jeff? What are your creative expression, or how do you generate a solid income in the midst of the current circumstances? You know, these questions that we really want answers to. How do we go about that? Asking the right questions so that we get the answers that we really want. Because you're right, that golfer, what's it going to give him? Do you want to keep slicing? Okay, well, here's the information about how to keep slicing. You're already doing it, but here's information to back it up. What do you really want? You want to hit it straight.
Well, you know, here's something that is also a truism, and it correlates golf, life, and metaphysics. Is if that person still keeps slicing the ball, they would look at me and say, "I'm doing what you're telling me." I said, "No, you're trying to do what I'm telling you, because if you were doing what I was instructing you to do, make the club go down the target line, club face square at the point of impact, it would cause a backspin, the ball have to go straight. If it's not doing that, you're not doing that. And it's okay. That's why you're here, because first of all, you had to discover what is the right way to think, or to, in this case, swing the golf club, and then have somebody nurture you till that is all you know." And as I would always tell my students, I said, I'm not here to make you dependent on me. My goal is to make you independent of me as quickly as possible. And so I was sharing the knowledge and then just coaching.
So what are people, I use the word folks a lot. I'm not sure. It seems a little too quaint for people sometimes, but whatever. What do people want right now? What are some of those what are the questions that you hear folks asking right now? That you came up with 5 ideas for classes. Let's throw up a test balloon. What are those? Do you remember what they are?
Let me grab them real quick. I'll just pull them up.
Putting you on the spot. I mean, they have to do with the big areas of our life, right? we can put these questions out to you right now. Like, what is important to you? What would you love coaching on right now? What would you love guidance on right now? Are you looking for a partner? Are you looking for financial solvency during what's happening right now? Are you looking for a healthier body? Are you looking for, emotional simplicity? Is that even possible? These things that I guess the question is that I ask, what is most meaningful to our community at this moment right now? How can we assist with that? How can we support you with that?
I'm just looking real quick.
Yeah. And the right questions, Jeff, come from a particular consciousness or an awareness about life and what we're exposed to as well. And so not even asking the right question gives us the right answer, but knowing how, being trained in asking the right question that would lead us to the right answer. And how do we do that? And I think that comes from a consciousness and awareness of being solution-oriented, opportunity-oriented, not a victim. These types of things the ideas that we espouse as a community as well. Did you come up with something there?
I did. Hey, also, Reverend Charles, we have those people saying that your sound is still tinny. Maybe you're better off without the headphones.
Okay.
You'll need to change your sound from coming from your Bluetooth headphones to the speaker on your device.
Okay. Well, why don't you talk and I'll work on that? How's that sound? I'm gonna
me talk.
Yeah, you talk. Jeff's gonna talk. I'm gonna turn my camera off just for a moment and work on that. Okay.
So some of the things we were talking about, and part of the things in my world, in my business world, is my role. What I get paid for is to come up with questions or come up with ideas and then implement them. So these were some of the things that I threw out last week. It was actually on the 23rd. It was a little late. It was 7:04. And it was one of those things that said how to prosper in the new normal. Teach a mindset principles that we create our own economies from within. And I see it happening all the time where people are saying, well, I'm where I'm at because XYZ business closed. And when we stop being the dog and letting the tail wag the dog and we become the dog that wags the tail, there's no economy situation that you will be set back in because you'll always see the opportunity. And I want to stop there and hit you right on this thought for just a second. I was trying to figure out why folks sometimes will point out the negative they see in what's going on. And what I discovered through education is we have about 60,000 thoughts an hour through our head. And because of the amygdala in our brain, it's the old brain that immediately looks around and says, hey, is this safe for us? About 9 out of 10 thoughts that go through us in those hours are searching for danger. And so whenever we see something, whether it's a sound on Reverend Charles' microphone, or maybe I had a spot on my shirt or whatever, it's easy to see that instead of say, wait a minute. And I'm going to joke about this, but we look at the manure instead of the pony. And if you're not sure about what that means, go back and listen, because there's always opportunity. And so that's the first thing. And that's why, because it would frustrate the what out of me, the bejesus, as my grandma used to say, that people would always point out, or let's say 9 out of 10 times would point out the negative about something instead of saying, wow, I love what you've done and the message you're giving. I just wish the sound were better. See, and it's like, that's a little easier for us to take, because then when we start out with, wow, your sound is really terrible, Reverend Charles, it can sometimes put the whole conversation on the heels, and now it's a defensive conversation. And I think there's a better way to start that. So that's the first one. The second one is, let's see, how to pivot in a world that has stopped. To me, that was one of those things I said, wow, how do we pivot in a world that seems to be stopped because, businesses are shut down. I just heard that a guy named Joe Rogan, who does a podcast, and he just got picked up by Spotify. He gets paid $100 million a year to do a podcast, and the guy is really, really good. But he says, I'm leaving LA. I'm going to a smaller town in Texas because just like we've heard lately, a lot of people are getting out of the big cities. And he stated a lot of reasons. But my point is, how is he pivoting? He's going to someplace else to do his show because what's going on doesn't fit. He didn't become a victim of the environment. He said, I'll change my environment and I'll still rise above. And jump in anytime, Reverend Charles.
Just want to make sure, can you hear me now? Is it good?
Oh, that's much better. Hey, give us a little feedback there, Don, if you'll tell us if his voice is now booming and it has some deep resonance of bass in it.
Because that's what it is. It is a booming voice with deep resonance. That's what we want, right? You know what I have? I've got this. Well, anyway, keep going though, Jeff.
Yeah, the other one is, and I think this is really good. I'm so excited to see how the Power of Eight and also this Social 8 program is coming together, because let's face it, it's fun to watch the Ellen Show and to be able to comment now and then in the comments. But there's nothing like what we're doing right now. We're having a conversation. We're interacting.
Yes.
There we go. Don says it's great. Thank you for seeing the pony, Don. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Don.
And so this one is overcoming loneliness when forced to social distance. And, you know, I see it when we get together for filming on Sunday. It's almost like I just got a B12 shot right in the main vein, right? Because there's other people. It's even this is better than no contact.
Yes.
Actually physically being in the room with somebody, because you bring an energy. Dale brings an energy. Dr. Laura brings an energy that we can't feel here. So that's the other one. And then the final one, let's make sure I get this right. How to find my soulmate when everything is closed. And the thought behind that was, you know, we can't go to restaurants. We can't go out to dinner. We can't go to the Nest and dance it up. You know, none of that stuff because everything is closed. So how do we find our soulmate, right?
How does that dancing look, Jeff? What is that? What do you do at the Nest?
We got to dance. It's got to be really close because there's a lot of people in there. So those are just some of the thoughts, and it kind of goes back to what I say here is, you know, what do we have to do to make today the best day ever, which is your line. I love that.
Yeah. My turn?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm still listening to you. Are you done? Those are the ideas, though. That's it. I don't even know what to say at this point. But one of the things you mentioned, though, was when we got pregnant 7 3/4 years ago, I was doing research on becoming a father and things like this. And one of the things I came across is that dads-to-be, and then dads once their kids are born, there's actually a part of the brain that's activated where you look for danger, like you said. You look for you actually go into a situation. Like I remember one time I was talking to my cousin. We're at Seward Park in Seattle, beautiful park right on Lake Washington. And I said, you know, so here's what I did when I first got here. This is when my daughter was a brand new baby. Here's what I did. My cousin's name's Eric. This is what I did when I first got here. I looked around and saw where the danger could come from. You know, where could it possibly come from? And where are my escape routes? Or if I need to fight, how's this going to go down? You know? Wow. Like that. And I would think about that all the time. And apparently it's a thing. It's a phenomena or a nomina or whatever you want. You know, it's a thing that folks begin, you know, dads begin to think about, where's the danger coming from so I can protect my baby, my newborn. I don't do that as much anymore. And I don't know if there are dads out there listening that can relate to that, but I get the practicality of it, but it also prevents me from being fully present with my family and the fun. So when we're giving birth to a new idea, or when we're innovating during these times, how much time are we spending on considering the danger versus the possibility of greatness? How much time am I considering what could go wrong versus what could go right? And is that preventing me from putting my best foot forward? And how can we do that? Continuously do that? Because we can adapt. I mean, and I think that's one of the biggest gifts that we have is adaptation, Jeff. And I think Eric Butterworth talks about it. And when I taught this class at the first part of the year, you know, we had the capacity, even though the beasts of back in the day were bigger with bigger claws and bigger teeth and just they were bigger, you know, 10, 12 times, 20 times bigger than we are. We had the capacity to outthink them. We had the capacity to adapt. And so how are we doing that now? Because there are invisible beasts out there. And can we adapt now by thinking? And I'm not by beasts. I'm again, just going along the same lines as, well, Land of the Lost was, do you remember Land of the Lost?
I do. Now it's in my head. Land of the Lost.
Land of the, yeah. Anyway, we have the capacity to do that now, and not just to sit on our hands or sit on our brains, as it were, but to actually adapt, consider new ways of being. How can I use the ingenuity that I'm blessed with to move forward now?
It makes me, here's a question that I have in my mind, and I can't answer because it's out of my control, but it's one of those questions I wish I knew the answer to. And the only way I can find that answer is to say, hey, you know what? I need to get them on a Zoom call and interview them and find out. The people who are committing what we would say travesty against other people, whether they're destroying their property, they're burning their building, they're hurting their business, they're hurting other people. What questions did they have to ask to get the answer to take action to go do that? Because to me, I think, wow, we might have either A, and this is only my opinion, because we see it as a faulty result. We see it as that experiment in the lab that's gone bad, and that animal has 6 legs instead of 4. And so we see it because it's weird. And I know the people out there are wanting to create a better world, and they think this is it, whereby you look at it and we say, this is a better way to do it. Let's do it here. Let's talk about how do we create a better world by having a better mindset. And again, my choice today was, hey, ask better questions.
Ask better questions. Yep.
So.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was a knucklehead. I mean, I destroyed things. I've stolen. I've destroyed property. I've, how much does that have to do with, maturity, Jeff? Just much. I don't know how far we want to go down this rabbit hole, if it's even meaningful for people. Well, it could be now if we're looking at destroying our own lives versus building a life. How much of it has to do with maturity, wisdom? Dr. Will and I last Thursday talked a lot about wisdom and just being wise.
I think that's a good question. Go ahead. You can finish your thought.
Well, there's just something about, is there something about, because not everybody's gone through, and I come from a loving family. I mean, my mom wasn't around a ton. And by the way, she's a surprise guest this coming Friday. She wasn't around a ton, and she'll admit that she was finding herself. And part of that, I guess what I'm going to call in this moment is lack of guidance. My dad wasn't around at all, alcoholic kind of thing. Those things inform our lives, so I've done a bunch of stupid stuff in my life, and out of experiencing the consequences of those things, which I think we can relate directly to consciousness as well, through making decisions in consciousness leads me down this road, and I experience the repercussions of it. Repercussions aren't good or bad. It's just what happens once you make a choice. And then we get wisdom from that. We kind of, I have found my way through the road of being a young, dumb knucklehead doing silly stuff to finding my way and now wanting to be a person of making a substantive contribution of love and compassion and goodness to the world. So how much of that plays into, the folks that are out there? And I know there's a lot of rhetoric that we throw that just for the nature of the show to make people think or have some introspection. I know I throw a lot of rhetoric out there. How much of that has to do with our walk too, our evolution?
I think there's a fair bit of that. You said something I thought was so significant is you were this, I'm gonna use your words, knucklehead, and now you're walking a different path. And I don't think that just happened. I think it comes from uh, your your points of reference. As an example, I mean, I was always brought up in a pretty strict household, and I understood consequences, and so I had to start being responsible for my actions. I couldn't just blame, my buddy Reverend Charles if something went bad that I did. I had to take responsibility for it. So it's one of those things where I think you might have reached your threshold of saying, "Hey, this doesn't work for me anymore." There's that conflict between my inner moral standards and where I'm going, and there must have been something in your brain, your subconscious said, "Boy, if you cross that line, you may not come back."
Yep.
And so you decided, "Hey, I'm changing." And I think that brings up a really super point of how long does it take to change, and it can happen that quick.
And did I start asking different questions from that point going forward? Well, I must have. I must have. Like, do I want, even a simple question that we all ask ourselves, I think at some point, do I want to keep going down this road because I can see where that's going to lead? Or do I want to start making different choices? And this isn't, it's a question. Do I want to start making different choices? I don't know where that road's going to lead, but it's probably not going to lead to me, dying anytime soon. This road's probably going to lead to me, having having a daughter someday down the road, having a family, being the minister of a church. It might not have showed up like that, but was it more life-giving? And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I just finished a book last night called with Benjamin Hardy, PhD Benjamin Hardy, and there's no such thing as willpower. And in his study, he's really great at researching, and so the nugget I pulled out of this is, we'll become fatigued faster mentally, which is willpower driven, than we will physically. And what's the one thing that will change us and make change easier without the need for willpower? And that's environment. And so I have to ask you, did your environment start to change? Did you start hanging around other people? Did you start reading different books? Did you start going to different events?
Well, when things finally tip, see, here's well, when I was in my early 20s, actually right before, it doesn't matter right now. Am I beyond the statute of limitations?
No.
25 years later?
I think you are. I think you are. Yeah, it's all good.
Right before I started ministerial school, I was a drug dealer. I moved quite a bit of marijuana.
Okay, I was just kidding. Maybe we're not past that. Folks, I got to sign off right now.
So I was actually doing a couple things simultaneously. I was in the midst of my spiritual studies, and I was moving a fair amount of marijuana. And at one point, it's like, choose. That's actually what this road is going to lead this way. And I saw some glimpses of what's going to happen down that road. And so I chose. And yes, then I started reading different things, and I was still the same sensitive guy. But I chose this way because I knew in my guts it was more life-giving. Yeah. And so, I started, more deeply going into practitioner studies, and then my ministerial studies, and yes, so my sphere of influence and my circle changed significantly.
But when did that change start? Did it take months, or was it in an instant when you made that decision?
It was a series of instances. It's a number of instances. Well, yeah, I mean, the ultimate change happened in an instance, but there's like a catalog of information that informs that moment. Yeah. Right. So
like if you're at a fork in the road, at what point did you choose the one on the right? In that instant, right? And
at that moment. But it wasn't the first time that I was scared for my life. It wasn't the first time I crap my pants because whatever. It was in the moment. But the moment only happened after that moment was informed by a lot of moments. And so I think that, I think that's, for me, that's how it went.
Yeah.
You know, and that's testimony too, though, to, I think when we're seeking to make a change, sometimes for me, I can be so stubborn and you know, what's the definition of crazy, right? Trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Do that over and over again until, you know, I kind of wake up and say, oh, okay, here we go. You know, sometimes how many times can you crash your car? How many times can you go bankrupt? How many times can you have the same marriage? You know, how many times can you, and none of it's wrong. It's just the experience that we have. How many times am I going to be afraid for my life? How many times am I going to, whatever? God, we're peeling the onion, the layers of my life.
You can take Friday off. This is really
this is it, right? But I think that's it. You know, how much pain are you willing to endure before? That's one road to take. How much pain are you willing to endure? How much suffering am I willing to endure before I see there's a way that I can live where I'm actually free?
Yeah.
Where I'm actually happy and enjoy, that I don't have to suffer. And where do those things come from? Likely from the environment that we grew up in,
Yeah,
that we came up in.
I want to take you back to the question here as an example. I mean, right now, if we had to say, hey, there's some top level questions that we wish we had the answer to, or let's say the results people are looking for. You know, they would like prosperity.
Yep.
They would like connection or community.
Yep.
And maybe health, right?
Yep, absolutely. And expression, creativity, expression.
Okay. All right, so let's put those four down there. So my question now is, what questions, and I want you guys to jump in here too. I'm looking over here off to the side because I see the other screen where your comments are coming in. I'd love to have your feedback of, if a person wanted to be prosperous, what questions would they ask to help them get there? And imagine you're in your car and you have your GPS open and you're giving it voice commands. What would you tell it? These are the power of those questions. You wouldn't want to say, well, I don't want to go to Wendy's. Still doesn't know where it's going, right? So
Yep.
I invite you to say, and Reverend Charles, I'm going to turn over to you, is that what question or questions would be the most valuable to give you the results you're looking for? Because here's what happens. When you ask a question or a better set of questions, what they become is immediate filter. Let me give you an example. If a person wants to be healthy and they're really saying, hey, what do I have to do to be optimum health? I can't sit on the couch anymore and eat M&Ms. I can't do the box of Oreo cookies and milk anymore. All of a sudden, it's like, wait a second, that filter comes up and says, this is incongruent.
Do you have a camera in my house, Jeff?
What's that?
Do you have a camera in my house? I'm paranoid all of a sudden, man.
Yeah.
My M&Ms are mixed with, you know, it's trail mix, but you know, my show at night.
Well, if it's trail mix, at least
that's exactly what I'm doing. What the heck is going on right now? All right.
Yeah.
I think, Ed, you're fired.
Oh, but here's what happens. You're now, when you get to that point, you're saying, wow, you're feeling the incongruency. In my opinion, you now are at that crossroads, just like you described in your life. And you either have to take this road or this road. But here's the coolest part, is now you have an understanding of, if you stay on this road, these are the consequences.
Yep. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And you say, then you have to ask, is this working for me? If the answer is no, it's pretty easy.
Yep.
What questions will we ask about prosperity? What would be great questions to ask, and our listeners too, ask to get prosperity?
Well, actually, two thoughts occur to me right off the bat. They're not questions, but one's a movie quote and one's a Beckwith says, pain pushes until vision pulls. That's one distinction. The other from Shawshank Redemption is get busy living or get busy dying. You know, what do you want to do? And some folks, you know, this actually brings back, it brings around, I'm not answering your question, Jeff, but I guess I'm posing
I
it
noticed
up.
the avoidance.
What's that?
I
Avoid, yeah.
noticed the avoidance.
That's what I do. It's a coping mechanism. All right. How I cope. Avoidance. What is your do you have a purpose? An individual armed with purpose is a powerful individual. An individual without purpose that's a desolate place to be, because I know what it's like. Someone with purpose wakes up every morning. Like, you occur to me as a man with purpose.
Thank you.
You get up and you just get going. You know, you bring the juice, the love, the life that you have. I know folks without purpose, and it's hard to get out of bed. That was me for a long time.
Yeah.
But if I don't have purpose, Jeff, do I even want to seek down, you know, the path of prosperity? If I don't have purpose, do I, you know, something that's, and maybe prosperity is purpose enough in itself. Maybe a relationship is purpose enough in itself. What was the question? What questions were? I still can't see the comments or anything. Or you're hoarding them today?
You just haven't had any. Here comes one right here.
Oh, we haven't had much. Okay.
Here you go. The other ones were about your sound, and there was no reason to put it over there.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought they just kind of came through. What questions would I ask about prosperity? Is that the?
Yeah, like what question would you ask if you wanted this outcome? Like, as an example, if you're saying, I want to have a strawberry cheesecake, okay, what ingredients, what would you need to know to make that strawberry cheesecake? You would want to know the ingredients, right? And if you didn't have the ingredients, how would I get those ingredients? And once you have the ingredients, then it's like, well, how do I put this together? Because this is the outcome you're looking for. This is the strawberry shortcake. And I'm asking prosperity. What questions would you ask? And you said, well, what is my purpose? I'm not going to challenge you. I'm just going to say, over the years and years and years, when I ask people that, or people even ask that of me, there were times in my life I said, I'm not sure. That's too heavy of a question. I'm just trying to make it through today. The purpose is I need to get to my bed by 10 o'clock tonight and sleep. That's it. That was my goal.
Well, that's also not a prosperity consciousness, is I just want to get through the day, right? Yeah. So we can challenge each other. I'm not afraid of being challenged.
I control the off button here. I can do anything.
That's what makes a good show. So I'd either find out the ingredients or I'd find out where to buy a whole cheesecake. That's what I do. Yep. And I know there are individuals who have the ingredients, you know, so I'd find out, first of all, I'd go to a cookbook, you know, I'd find out what the ingredients are. How do we do that? Who is prosperous?
Mm-hmm. There you go. Now we're getting there.
Sit at their feet a little bit. What have you done? I've hustled. I've written down 100 ideas every day. Every idea that pops in my head, I write them down, you know, and then I follow some, I don't follow some. So where's the whole cheesecake already made, and how do I go get it and attain it? Or where are the ingredients? How do I get them and then put the cheesecake together myself? But there are individuals that have already figured out the puzzle. But purpose to me comes back with prosperity just isn't enough. Like, if all of a sudden prosperity to me, I mean, we can't, just financial prosperity isn't enough. If I was sitting on $1 billion right now, and I didn't have a sense of what I wanted to do, whether it be philanthropic or selfish or whatever it might be, I mean, to me, I don't understand the point. So that's where purpose comes back into the fold for me, though. So purpose, what I'm hearing from you is purpose doesn't necessarily lead to prosperity. Prosperity in and of itself is enough of the question. Is that?
Let's put it this way. It may be a question, right? So as an example, the question might be, how do I find my purpose in life? That is a question.
Yep.
Right? The other question may be, how do I find prosperity in my life? That's a totally different question with a different set of ingredients. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sure.
And so it doesn't become spaghetti. It becomes a specific meal. And I think it's amazing. I'm looking at here, it's 10:54. We were starting out thinking, boy, what are we going to talk about? Well, we have enough content to discuss. I hope it's made sense to those people listening.
I do too.
It's all about the power in the question. And the real turning it around is if you look at your life and you really take stock of it and say, am I where I want to be healthy? You know, as far as health wise, financially, in a relationship, you know, in abundance, in my caring, in my purpose. If I'm not there, I would say create a set of questions, or challenge you to create a set of questions that drive you to that answer.
Yep.
So, as an example, you know, if I say, you know, what is my purpose, and I simultaneously have how do I become prosperous? As I become more prosperous, don't I see further down the road? It's like that car going across the country in the dark. It only sees 100, 200 yards in front of it, but it keeps going. That's what we have to do.
Yes. Yes.
We see
Yep.
things.
Yep. So, you know, if I'm sitting here and saying, how do I become more prosperous? One of the questions is, what do I do? You know, so what do I do? If I want to become more healthy, what do I do? Well, I got to get up off the couch. I got to do some push-ups or some sit-ups. Go see my doctor. Go, you know, get a whatever, my doctor for an outline or a recommendation of, you know, go see this person who's a, you know, physical therapist, or join a gym, those types of things. If I want to be more prosperous, I guess it's kind of the same types of things. What do I need to do? Take some risks. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that you know, there was a lot of stuff written, I think not so much lately, but maybe 5-7 years ago, about the question why. The why. What's your why?
Simon Sinek. Yep.
And there was a lot of conversation around those things. Like, what is your why? So, you know, if I want to be more prosperous, there's something that you talk about changing your environment. I have to do something different. Actually, I have to do something different. And maybe in the quest, so, I mean, chicken or egg? Does it start with thinking, or does it start with doing something? Can I do something without thinking about it first? Is it change your thinking, change your life? Or is it change your environment, which changes your thinking? But how do I change my environment? You know, I mean, you know, I don't want to get too crazy about this whole thing, but where does it start? No matter what, it starts in a moment.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've been spending a lot of time on understanding the science behind our mind, not only science of mind, but really the science. And one of the things that we've been able to measure, and this is just in the last few years, is there was that question of, well, is it emotion first or is it a thought first? And now they know, because of the millisecond being able to measure this, that the thought, then the emotion. So when we have a thought and we put emotion behind it, it's like the nurturing to make it reality. So, and there's a cool part, because we can watch a movie and we can now not have the emotion behind it when we leave and know it was make-believe, versus watching the news and seeing how graphic it is. And now we have emotion attached to it, and we walk out on the street and now there is that head spinning. Is somebody going to attack me? Because we've emotionally connected it. That's real.
Yep.
And so I think for us, we have to decide, do we want to keep consuming that? The answer is no. Change your environment. Show up on more programs like this.
Yes.
Read a book. Go to a webinar. They're all online. Watch some YouTube videos. Start extracting. That's a change of environment, gang. It doesn't mean you have to physically get in a car somewhere. Find a mentor. Ask Reverend Charles to mentor you.
That's right. So how do we make this show more dramatic?
Geez, I don't know.
I have an idea. Here we go. There's Jeff. There's Jeff at the nest. Come on.
Go.
Tune in, people. It's fundamental to our teaching, and everybody that goes through foundations will get this. Fundamental principle to what we present to the world is a thought plus a feeling equals a result. Fundamental. Yeah. What are you thinking? And that's where intention comes in. What are you thinking? I talked about this on Friday fairly extensively to open the program on last Friday morning. A thought plus a feeling equals a result.
Yep.
So I challenge everybody today. What are you thinking? And what are you feeling? And what do you expect What do you feel like you deserve today? And that's consciousness, you know, and back to what, you know, Dr. Will and I talked about last Thursday too, Jeff, is, and I think we can all agree that we could just listen to Dr. Will read the phone book and it would be enough, you know, to last a while.
Voice lessons and getting a deeper voice now.
And the way he, you know, Decatur, Georgia, the way he draws, just the way he talks, that your intention is actually, it informs your cells, that there's intelligence throughout your entire body, not just located here where we think our mind is, but mind is the entire ecosystem of our body. Mind is all of it. Mm-hmm. So how do we line that up? Thought plus a feeling equals a result. We can use that formula today to demonstrate a greater prosperity. And it's likely going to ask you to, there's no person on the planet. That's a hyperbole. I tend to go there sometimes. The folks that are the most fulfilled, I would offer, are folks that have taken risks. Somehow they've risked something.
Yep.
And that's part of it.
Hey, and I'll tell you what, we take risks. It doesn't always work out. But
Nope.
Here's the question I ask.
Nope.
What did I learn from that?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And it doesn't make me stop. It makes me say, okay, I learned that. Now let's go do it. Let's go do something different. I can't do the same thing because I'll get the same result. So,
Possibility questions. Possibility questions.
Yeah.
What's possible?
I want to toss one thing out there, and I know we're out of time now, but one thing that I learned a long time ago, and I was just reminded of it in another book that I'm reading right now, is if we don't put skin in the game, we are not committed. And I remember when I was doing real estate and somebody said, well, I'll sign a contract and I'll be by tomorrow. I said, your contract isn't worth anything until you give me a check for X. You're not in the game. There's nothing here, and it's non-refundable. And when they wrote me a non-refundable check, they came back. They were committed. And I'm just wondering how many of us are not willing to put any skin in the game and expect the results. And I'll give you a perfect example. I would have people come to my golf clinics, and they would stand on the sideline and just watch. They would never do. Years later, they were still standing on the sideline. Their game was still not very good because they never did. They didn't invest themselves. They didn't put any skin in the game. But I can honestly say those people who invested, whether it was their time and money or both with me when I was teaching or when I was doing real estate, they did get a positive result. So I'm saying by you coming here today, you've invested some time.
Yep.
I would say invest in where you're getting your good, and you will see a return on that investment. That's just the way it is. That's law. That's law. You can't stop that from happening.
Yeah. Amen. Hey, Ed, next time you come off the couch, let's talk more about actual like money.
Okay.
You know, I mean, let's unpack that a little bit, you know, and especially in the quote unquote spiritual realm, you know, folks that I think we kind of tap dance around a little bit. I don't want to tap dance around money.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because it's a game we play. You know, let's chat more about that. What do you say?
That sounds good. That sounds good. Hey, thank you all for showing up and still staying here, even though William, you know, we call him the modifier.
He is the modifier. He modifies things.
Yeah, and what's this other thing? Something about Giddy Up Buttercup? Oh yeah, Giddy Up Buttercup. And those are some of the things I miss about being in the center. Oh, what's that?
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Buckle up, Buttercup. That's right. So anyway, I just want to say thank you for being here, and you know, from our hearts to yours. I know you were expecting William, and he's a lot of fun to have and talk because he can go really deep. Even though he's a motorcycle rider, he can get really deep.
Even though, to all the motorcycle riders out there,
say, even because he's a motorcyclist and he's on that thing and it's grinding, and you know he's got to focus. But anyway, thank you, and I guess for me to sign off and turn it over to you, let's remember. Make today the best day ever. Thank you, Reverend Charles.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you, my friend. See you tomorrow, way earlier than I want to, but it's going to be great once I'm there anyway.
Oh, that's right. 6 a.m., baby.
Yeah, 6 a.m. All right. So, hey, folks, that's Jeff Harrison, Swing Point Media. We appreciate him so much. He's a really cool human being, and I know he blesses all of our lives by what he puts together for us. So, hey, yeah, thanks for hanging out. I agree. You know, life happens. We have to change. We have to modify. We have to adjust as things come up. So, appreciate you being with us this morning. Tomorrow, Jafon and I, chapter 3. We're gonna keep working our way through the book, gang. Powerful book. Be there with Jafon and I tomorrow, 10 a.m. Wednesday at 10, the Sensational Six, who this week are all they're moving from graduates to reverends. So we celebrate them. I'm working on that. Thursday, I am with Gail Morton, another one of our graduates. And hopefully she'll be with me because I'm going to grill her. She doesn't like to talk too much about herself, but we're going to make her do it, okay? So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then back Friday, Life on Love with me. Again, another opportunity to get to know me a little bit better as your new associate minister as we make the transition. And we'll keep going through the week. Life is good. Please contribute. Call the center. Share your financial good with us. You can through the website. There's a link. There's all sorts of ways. Texting. We appreciate your financial good. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I am so hit the blue button. Ed says, hit the blue button to give. Jeff, Ed Harrison. All right, gang. Much peace, much love. Have an extraordinary Monday. Make it the best day ever. Peace.